Welcome to Fan Fave with Katrina. Fan Fave with Katrina. It's time to talk pop culture.
Happy New Year to all of my lovely listeners of Fan Fave. We haven't had a podcast episode since last year, or I guess just a few weeks ago, but welcome to 2023. For the first episode of this new year, I actually want to talk about a different year, and that year is 2013. You guys, 2013 is actually one of my favorite years of pop culture. So many things happened that year, music released that I still listen to, moments that we still talk about, and all of these things are turning the great milestone of 10 years old this year. So I wanted to kick off by talking about my favorite pop culture things from 2013 that I love still talking about 10 years later in 2023. But first, a lot has happened since we last spoke, so I'm going to do a quick pop recap to talk about all of the pop culture things that I have not been able to stop talking about since the last time I talked to you all on this podcast. First off, it's award season, and especially in the movie world where Oscar nominations recently came out. Specifically for Best Picture, this is such an interesting slate to me. It seems like a lot of larger blockbusters made the cut this year, which was surprising. I expected Elvis to get a nomination, but Avatar: The Way of the Water also got recognition, and Top Gun: Maverick, which I was a bit surprised about as well. I think Top Gun really had a reputation for bringing back the movie experience and getting so many people to come see it. The whole movie was just a massive cinematic moment. I think I'm the most excited about The Fabelmans and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Both of those were in my top 10 favorite releases of the year. I really hope one of those two takes the win because they were both fantastic movies. There were still a couple of films nominated that I have not seen yet that I feel like I may enjoy, like Banshees of Inisherin, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness, so I'm going to check those out, and then before the Oscars, we can fully chat about predictions once I'm finished my little marathon. I also had a pretty eventful weekend that I want to talk about. First off, this weekend I got to check out two new movies that recently came out, House Party and Megan. One of those I really enjoyed, and one I unfortunately did not. House Party was a remake of the film of the same name from 1990 starring Kid and Play. I've seen the original and the reboot just does not match up at all. A lot of people told me they didn't really like the concept of the reboot from the start, with them taking over LeBron's house and it essentially being a cameo fest, but I actually didn't really have an issue with that portion of the story. My biggest issues had to do with the overall plot and where the direction of the story went. I think the beginning was very, very slow, and the ending got a little bit too crazy for my liking. The original House Party was fun and it took risks, but it was a lot more grounded, and I wasn't sure what the direction was supposed to be at any point with the reboot. On the other hand, I loved Megan. I think that going in, I knew Megan was going to be a really silly movie because of all the memes, and it just ended up being a very fun watch overall. I will say that the whole artificial intelligence computer robot thing is creepy because it's something that could really happen in real life, but for someone that doesn't really like horror movies, I actually had no problem sitting through this one. Now, I also had the chance to attend the 35th anniversary performance of Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. This was also my very first time seeing Phantom of the Opera. I really love this show. It's definitely a classic, but I didn't go into the show blind, and I recommend doing the same as me and reading more about the backstory before going, because if not, it could get hard to follow sometimes. Luckily, I also had a friend with me who had seen the show before, and she kind of filled in the gaps for me when I had questions. Also, considering that this was an opera, I was pleasantly surprised to have enjoyed all of the songs in this show, even the ones that were that more opera sound. I didn't expect to like all of the songs here, but I actually did. The cast and vocalists were all so incredible. My favorite part, of course, was the chandelier drop, just a complete highlight for me because that was really the one element of the show that I knew about going in, and it's just so iconic. It's a chandelier dropping on top of the audience. Cool effects there, and I really did enjoy the show overall. It was a really fun night and a nice celebration for the show that's closing so soon, unfortunately. At the end, the current Phantom, Ben Crawford, gave a speech, and the cast sang Happy Birthday with a giant Phantom of the Opera themed cake that had been wheeled out on stage. Over the weekend, I also attended my 4th episode of Saturday Night Live season 48. This time, the host was Michael B. Jordan with musical guest Lil Baby. This was my first time doing standby for the show with the new process that eliminated the overnight line, and that led to a much more crowded standby line of over 150 people. I had never seen a line like this before since my time doing standby, but we made it in and we went to dress rehearsal this time. And I have to say I love doing dress rehearsal because you get to see sketches that were cut and don't make it to the live tape. I thought Michael B. Jordan did a fantastic job hosting, and Lil Baby was great as well. Some of my favorite sketches of the night included all of the pre-tapes, literally all of them, Falling Down, State Farm, and Southwest. Those were all peak comedy for me. I also thought the Male Confidence Seminar and the Towel Guys sketches were funny if you want to check those out. I think this episode was really Andrew Dismuke's night overall. He was a cast member that was basically in every single sketch, which was crazy, but he really killed it. And the roller coaster accident sketch was a funny one as well. I just really love whenever Sarah Sherman brings a wacky sketch to the show and they just let her go crazy with it with the prosthetics and they do it live, because a lot of the time Sarah's sketches seem like things that should be a pre-tape because of all of the special effects and makeup they have to put on. But Sarah always just really delivers with the sketches, even though it's live with all of that craziness happening. My favorite cut sketch had to be Marcelo Hernandez and his Weekend Update feature, which I have to say, they keep cutting Marcelo's features on Update whenever I go to dress. Like last time he did one with Mikey Day on the Keke Palmer and SZA episode, and it was about the World Cup, and it was hilarious. Hopefully we see that next time Marcelo is on Update, it makes the full cut for the live tape. Now, it's time to get nostalgic and hop into the topic of today, which is all about the year of 2013 and the things that are turning 10 this year. Let's start off by talking about movies. I feel like 2013 was a fantastic year for movies. You had critically acclaimed films like The Wolf of Wall Street, The Great Gatsby. You had A24's The Bling Ring as well. The first Now You See Me film also turns 10 this year, which I did not watch until last year actually, but it's one of my favorite movies. I just think the twists in it are so silly. 42, starring Chadwick Boseman, also was released in the year of 2013, and it's just such a fantastic film. I remember watching this for the first time in my drama class in high school, and I was just so amazed by Chadwick's portrayal of the legendary Jackie Robinson. In animation, the iconic Disney musical Frozen was released in 2013. 10 years later, Frozen is still one of the highest grossing animated films of all time. Other big animated films that came out 10 years ago include Monsters University and Despicable Me 2. If you're big into horror, this year you can celebrate the 10-year anniversaries of the first Purge film and The Conjuring. But if you're more like me, you probably are familiar with how great the year of 2013 was for comedy films. Some of my all-time favorite comedies, like We're the Millers and Delivery Man, came out this year. Also, Anchorman 2, This Is the End, as well as Grown Ups 2 with that all-star cast alongside Adam Sandler. Fantastic comedy movies that all came out in the year of 2013. I'd say that 2013 was an average year for superhero films though, as this year the big superhero movies were Thor: Dark World, Iron Man 3, The Wolverine, and Man of Steel. If I were to rank this slate of movies, I just set them in the order from least favorite to best in my eyes. Also, timely enough for Man of Steel's 10-year anniversary, Henry Cavill just recently announced that he will no longer be returning to play Superman. So I'm curious how DC's future plans are looking in reference to all of their characters and their upcoming slate in general, really. In 2013, we also really embraced the potential wackiness of movies. I mean, Sharknado came out this year, and I also have to highlight one of my favorite Disney Channel original movies ever made. Teen Beach Movie will turn 10 this summer, and yes, I still know all of the dances. Moving into television, a lot of iconic shows had their premiere 10 years ago. Andy Samberg's NYPD sitcom Brooklyn Nine-Nine first released on Fox in September of 2013, and that went on to last 8 seasons. Rick and Morty also premiered 10 years ago, along with Freeform's drama The Fosters and Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you were still watching Disney Channel and Nickelodeon in 2013 like I was, then you probably also remember 2013 as the year of Sam and Cat, The Thundermans, and Liv and Maddie. Now, while many shows premiered in 2013, many also saw their end 10 years ago. Sitcoms like 30 Rock and The Office aired their finales 10 years ago after 7 seasons for 30 Rock and 9 seasons for The Office. For my Disney and Nick people, this was sadly the year that Big Time Rush, Shake It Up, and Victorious ended. And can I just say that I am still upset with how abrupt Victorious ended? We really deserved a better ending for such a solid show.
You're listening to Fan Fave with Katrina. Fan Fave with Katrina.
So we are talking all about the year of 2013, and quite frankly, I think 2013 was one of the last great years for music in a long time. It was such a solid year, and for the sake of this episode, I'm only going to be talking about songs and albums that were actually released in this year, because there are, of course, a lot of songs that were the soundtrack to 2013, but actually came out in 2012. I'm really passionate about 2013 music though, you guys. I have an actual complete playlist on Tidal curated to songs specifically from this time period, and it's almost 300 songs long, but let me know if you want the link. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about my favorite albums from this year. 2013 gave us the self-titled Paramore album with hits like Ain't It Fun and Still Into You, instant classics. We also had the 2020 Experience by Justin Timberlake, Nothing Was the Same by Drake, Bangers by Miley Cyrus, Pure Heroine by Lorde, Lady Gaga's Art Pop, Because the Internet by Childish Gambino. I mean, I could keep going forever. We had the boy band era. Unfortunately, it was also the year the Jonas Brothers broke up, but they came back together and they're thriving now. British boy band The Wanted was releasing music back in 2013, and it was also the start of a peak era for One Direction in my opinion too. Their album Midnight Memories was released this year, and it's one of their best. Also, their best song ever music video turns 10, and that's probably my favorite music video of theirs. We had the 1975's debut album released during that whole indie Tumblr era, and girl groups like Little Mix and Fifth Harmony were just getting their start. Fun fact, I actually saw Fifth Harmony in concert back in 2013, so 10 years ago, on their Harmonize America tour in Orlando, Florida, which turned me into a hardcore fan. Ariana Grande also had her debut in the year of 2013, and can you believe it has been 10 years since The Way and her subsequent debut album Yours Truly was released? We also had my personal favorite Austin Mahone, who I absolutely loved in 2013. I still listen to his old music today. One of my all-time favorite Justin Bieber albums, Journals, also turns 10 this year, and if you guys remember his Music Mondays, you know that was such a fun time. And lastly, I have to mention Beyonce, who basically changed the music industry with the release of her 2013 self-titled visual album 10 years ago. The successful surprise release date on Friday influenced the industry shift from releasing music on Mondays to releasing on Fridays. And all of this happened in the music industry in 2013. And like I said, this is not even including all of the fun singles and music videos released from songs that may have come out in 2012 but blew up during the year, like Bruno Mars and When I Was Your Man, and the Taylor Swift Red album, or DJs like Avicii and Zedd, and I must add Macklemore, because in 2013, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing a Macklemore song. Now, 2013 was the year of the mustache obsession, tie-dye galaxies, and iconic internet memes, so I'm going to end talking about my favorite general pop culture things from the year 2013 that are now turning 10 years old. First off, 2013 was the year that the Oxford Dictionary added the word selfie, and I just think that's a first look into how much internet culture had an influence on life in 2013. I mean, you had so much back then premiering, like the release of 6-second video app Vine. I still quote so many lines from iconic Vine videos, and the app helped to launch the careers of people that are still successful 10 years later today, like Shawn Mendes, for example. I have to say it though, for those that remember, Shawn Mendes was part of a larger Vine group, similar to the TikTok clubs and houses of today. He was a part of MadCon. MadCon was huge for me in 2013. I mean, you had Nash Grier, Cameron Dallas, Matthew Espinoza. I loved watching that group's videos, and although fairly short-lived, MadCon was actually founded back in September of 2013. YouTubers were also huge during this time, and I especially want to point out iconic viral video songs like What Does the Fox Say and the Harlem Shake trend that everybody was doing. The difficult yet very addicting Flappy Bird game also released 10 years ago. As for iconic music television performances, I have to point out the 2013 VMAs where Miley Cyrus broke the internet twerking on stage during a This came after she was trying to separate herself from that Disney background, and I mean, she broke the internet because of this. Definitely an iconic pop culture moment that we still talk about 10 years later. 2013 was also the year that Beyonce played the halftime show and reunited with Destiny's Child at the Super Bowl, which was between the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers. 10 years ago, the Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl. I have to shout that out because I'm from Maryland and that was a while ago, so I kind of wish they were coming back sometime soon to the Super Bowl, but we'll see how this year's Super Bowl ends up. I'm rooting for Philly, by the way. I hope this trip through the year of 2013 did not make you feel too old because it sure seems like time is flying. As we celebrate the 10-year anniversaries of these iconic pop culture moments this year, I hope that we also get to enjoy new fun iconic pop culture moments, new film and TV releases, and great music to enjoy, all things that hopefully we'll be talking about in 10 years from now. That's all for today. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening to Fan Fave. As always, you can stay up to date by following at Fan Fave Media on all social media platforms where I post vlogs from my adventures in the entertainment world, film and TV reviews, and reactions and breakdowns to the latest in pop culture news. Stay tuned for upcoming opportunities to have your opinion heard right here on the Fan Fave podcast because I want to hear from you. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks for listening.